It was in Lampedusa that the Pope, for the first time, used the rhetoric of the throwaway culture versus the culture of encounter, which has gone on to become sort of the leitmotif of the social and political agenda of his papacy.
In his first trip outside of Rome, just months after his election, the Holy Father visited the Italian island of Lampedusa, less than 100 miles off the Tunisian coast. It often serves as the first destination for many refugees from Africa. It was the first of many trips to the peripheries of society in what has become a cornerstone of his papacy. Pope Francis's first international trip was to Brazil to celebrate the 28th World Youth Day in Rio de Janeiro. He joined in a 5-day celebration with youth, a historic first for the Church as the first Latin American Pope visiting Latin America. He celebrated 2 other World Youth Days, 2016 in Krakow, Poland, and 2019 in Panama City, Panama. And he's scheduled to go in August to World Youth Day in Lisbon, Portugal. Francis's trips have truly taken him to the far corners of the globe, including Myanmar, Albania, Armenia, Thailand, and Kazakhstan. He has often pushed to advance an agenda of peace, ecumenical outreach, and interreligious dialogue. In Cuba, in 2016, he held a surprise meeting with Patriarch Kirill of Moscow. In his visit to the United Arab Emirates in 2019, he attended an interfaith meeting and signed a document on human fraternity. And in Iraq in 2021, he met with Shiite cleric Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani. But the Pope is also concerned with supporting often deeply suffering but courageous Catholics across the globe.
The Catholic Church grows either by the preaching of missionaries or by the blood of martyrs. And Catholicism is growing at an impressive rate in these peripheries in Asia and Africa, and the Middle East is where many of the martyrs are giving witness to their faith, frequently by their own blood. He wants to be seen shoring up all of these Christian communities that are blossoming, just beginning, and also suffering tremendously.
The Pope has also been clear during his 5 trips to the African continent. There he has denounced violence and the arms trade, condemned rising Islamist terrorism, and has spoken out against what he termed the West's ideological colonialism, attaching aid and development to the embrace of abortion, contraception, and gender ideology.
Pope Francis's visit to the Central African Republic, Bangui, the capital of the CAR, was enormously significant because historically this was the very first time that a pope visited an active war zone. Of course, in Bangui, you also have the famous story of the saints of Bangui, the Catholic archbishop, Protestant leader, and the Islamic leader, who are great friends and who have provided this example of sort of tolerance and brotherhood against the forces threatening to tear this country apart. And so the Pope went there to endorse that and to lend his presence to it. And we all know the aftermath. I mean, basically, a truce was imposed ahead of the papal visit, which held while he was there. And the CAR was, in a sense, proud enough of itself in the aftermath of the papal visit that a peace deal was brokered and peaceful elections and a peaceful transfer of power were able to happen. Now, that has not solved all of the country's problems, but I think they would say they are in an infinitely better place today than they were before Francis went. Massive crowds and the enthusiasm, the dynamism, the energy that you saw on display while Pope Francis was in both of these places, that is Congo and South Sudan, very much is, I think it is the most significant Catholic story of our time.
In 2015, the Holy Father came to the United States. There he met with abuse victims, among others, and promised to act. He also canonized St. Junipero Serra at the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, and spoke to Congress. One of his most memorable trips was just last year to Canada in July of 2022, where the Pope made an impassioned apology to the country's Indigenous peoples for the Church's role in the Canadian Indian residential school system.
With his trip to Canada, the Pope undertook that trip as a penitential pilgrimage, as he called it, to apologize for a lot of the abuse that happened. At the same time, these visits have really been imbued with hope. In his homilies, he speaks about the reconciliation through suffering that is offered by Christ.
In all, the Pope has made 40 international trips, with more journeys planned in the coming months, including to Hungary, Portugal, and possibly even Mongolia. The 86-year-old pontiff shows no signs of slowing down his commitment to visiting the global church. Alan Holdren, EWTN News in Depth.